Wouldn't it be great if we could get big returns with no risk and tap into those IRAs and 401ks without paying any sort of taxes? I know what you're already thinking. Yeah, that's not possible. And you're right. You see, these are unreasonable requests. And today we're going to talk about some unreasonable requests and what actually is reasonable when creating your strategy and your future financial plan.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Searins, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Well, glad to have you back on Your Life, Your Money. I'm Ben George. He's Scott Searins, President and Financial Advisor over at Searins Financial Group, serving those Chicagoland suburbs. So you'll find him online at lifemoneyshow.com as well. We'll put up the podcast, plus a lot of video content that Scott's creating consistently as well. So if you want to learn more about money, finances, retirement planning, you've come to the right place, and we appreciate that you are here with us today. Scott, welcome in. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Ben. We're finally in the, I'll call it springtime for Illinois. It doesn't feel like it. Well, it's starting to feel like it more and more. I tell you what, we always have these like pockets of like nice weather, but then it kind of drops down again. But finally into spring. For us in Illinois, that means we can finally go back outside, enjoy the weather, and I'm excited. It's a great time of the year, and I love to be outside, love to be grilling out. My girlfriend and I were talking. We're just excited for, hanging out this summer where, getting a lot of stuff done during the day, but then where can we go and find some live music at night and enjoy the times? How about you?
Yeah, I love this time of year. It's always, every time I go out, from the office, like on a lunch break or something, and it's like 65 degrees and perfectly sunny, and you're just like, why am I working today? I need to get out of here. But you do that too much, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm way behind at work. But I do love it. I love grilling out as well. We actually had dinner outside last night on the back porch, grilled up a little fish and chicken and a hot dog for the little ones. So awesome. It was nice, beautiful night.
Yep. That's some of the best nights, right? And then now, do you guys have a lot of mosquitoes there?
Yeah, they haven't started coming out too much yet, but yeah, once we get into like June, usually like late May, early June, then yeah, you can't avoid them.
Yeah, but it's like picking that time, right? It's like making sure you get outside to enjoy the weather, and then might have to go inside for a little bit, but they always disappear at a certain time if I can stay up that late, but then I can make it back out, I guess. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, it's a great time of the year, and I'm glad that you're able to enjoy it. Hopefully you listening are able to enjoy it as well and get out and enjoy that fresh air. That's also key too, Scott. We become so reliant on technology, and so many people are working from home that we miss that time that we're usually out and moving around, going to work or getting lunch or whatever, because we've become so accustomed to spending more time at home now through the pandemic. So get that fresh air when you get the opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. You got to push yourself. Set that calendar reminder or set that phone alarm to say, hey, wait, been sitting at this desk for too long. Get outside and get some fresh air.
All right, today we're talking about unreasonable requests. Now, I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast, Scott, would never call you up and have an unreasonable request for you. But there are other people out there that might call you up and say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. Can you make it happen? And then you're like, that's not exactly what we aim to accomplish here at Searins Financial. So we're going to take you through some of the unreasonable requests in the financial world and explain why they're unreasonable. And I think with everything you have to do, Scott, it's all about setting the proper expectations, right?
Absolutely. And I think sometimes, folks don't maybe also recognize that the request is unreasonable, or they're just making a comment, right? Like saying, gosh, I really wish for this, but it's just, it's not feasible, it's not possible. And sometimes it's just continuous education of why that's not feasible or possible.
Okay. So let's run through some of these requests here. How about this first one? Everybody wants to have their cake and eat it too, right? I want to get some bigger returns, Scott, but I don't want to take any more risk.
Gosh, that would be the perfect investment, wouldn't it? And if that existed, we would all be putting our money in that same investment. It would have everybody's money in it, which of course then tells us that it doesn't exist. And I thought we could just kind of utilize this as one to kind of educate on maybe the three characteristics when it comes to different types of investments.
Okay.
There's growth, right? So that bigger return that we want. There's no risk, or what we'll call safety. And then the third part is liquidity. And a lot of times you can achieve two, but not have all three. And so, for example, like a stock, good potential growth over a long period of time, but then you're going to have to risk the safety of your principal to achieve that growth. But you do have liquidity. A bond, well, the bond, you've got liquidity, you've got safety, but you're giving up the growth. And then the last would be like an annuity, right? So now you're giving up liquidity for potentially more growth, and also to maybe have that safety of your principal depending on what type of annuity. So typically you can achieve two out of the three, but not necessarily all three of these. And then, it all depends on what you need for your plan. And so, like I said, unfortunately, we can't have all three. Unfortunately, that perfect investment doesn't exist. And so we have to just realize that each investment has a give and a take to it. And I think, the best way to explain this is like building a house. And when you build a house, first thing you do is you're going to sit down and put together that blueprint. What do you want the house to look like? And then after you've put together that blueprint, you might go through some revisions, right? And this is based on the budget that comes back in. You're going to go through some revisions to say, okay, it came out a little bit more expensive. Maybe we've got to take out some different finishes, make it a little bit smaller, or maybe it came out and then you're adding things to it. And then once you actually start building that house, you're going to have multiple tools, different supplies that you're utilizing to build that house. Again, there's just no one perfect thing for each and every house, right? And that's the same when it comes to investments. Once you put together your blueprint, well, then you're going to use different tools to build that plan to match and meet the goals of that blueprint. And because none of them are the perfect tool, that perfect investment, each tool is going to have a little bit of give and take to it, but that's why we're using multiple tools to help you achieve that overall goal.
Yeah, it's always about using multiple tools, whatever tool's best for you. The good thing is that Scott has experience, and a lot of them has a lot of tools in the tool belt, so he can help you with that as well. But trying to get that big return with very little risk, good luck finding that. All right, next one. I know a lot of people are looking for ways to cut costs and save money, and that's important, right? You want to be as conservative and frugal as possible, right, to save up over time. But one area where it's maybe not the best is with the professionals you're working with. And so, Scott, you might have someone come in and say, hey, I know I appreciate what you do, but is there any way you can just reduce your fees for me?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ben. Now, I don't see this a whole lot, but I understand the question. Actually, I don't see it very much at all. Maybe I feel like, we're very competitive in our fee nature, and I feel that we bring and deliver a lot of value to our clients. But it is a thought that I'm certain goes through people's minds. And I think from what you were saying up front there, right, is one of those age-old sayings is you pay for what you get for. But, in addition to that is, also what kind of services do you need? Now, first and foremost, you don't want your advisor's business to be a nonprofit business, because then they would be out of business and they wouldn't be able to provide you help and continue to manage your money and your investments. So it's important that they stay in business. The other thing is what services and values are you looking for? And here's the thing. Everybody's looking maybe for something a little bit different. And I'd like to always say there's three levels where you can get some help. One level is what I'll call is like the product providers. And this is great for those that are do-it-yourself, right? When it comes to income planning and investment management and tax planning and tax strategies and health planning and estate review, there are some people out there that love to come up with all the answers to all of those questions all on their own. And if that's them, that's great. Then there's a level where they can go just to purchase investments. And that's good for them. Then the next level is, I'm going to call it kind of that investment advisor level, where you're just looking for somebody just to manage your investments. That's it. But if you've got questions on income, if you've got questions on tax or health or legacy, they're not really there to do that. They're probably going to tell you, hey, sorry, I can't answer those questions. And, but that's okay, because those that are just looking for investment management, then there's a level for them. And then the last level is that holistic planner, somebody who's doing comprehensive financial and retirement planning. This is what we do for our clients, where we're helping to answer all of the questions in all of those 5 areas. How big of a retirement paycheck can you cut? How do we make it last? Managing the investments to grow, keep up with inflation, keep those paychecks coming. Tax strategies, keeping more in your pocket versus giving it to the IRS. So the reason I bring this up is because each of those different levels are going to have different fee structures. So I think first off is, folks need, and we go through this when new people come in, we have this conversation, is understanding what kind of level of help are they looking for. Some people we're not a good fit for. Those that are looking for answers in all those 5 areas and help and support in all those 5 areas, well, those people we are a good fit for. So hopefully that helps, because I think sometimes people are trying to, when they're looking at fees, they're trying to compare fees, but they're actually looking at these different levels and going, hey, can you come down to the fee of this different level? Well, you're getting a whole different view. You're getting a whole different level of service then. And so I think, it all is based on what services and value are you looking for, are you needing, or you want to receive, and then paying a fair, competitive price for the value that you're receiving.
Yeah, you always, you get what you pay for, and it does speak to what you do, Scott, that you don't have a lot of people come in and ask to lower fees, but these requests come out in the financial world probably quite a bit in other places. But just keep in mind that, you are getting the value, hopefully, that you are paying for. And if you're not, it's always fine to go find a second opinion and take on a couple more meetings with other people as well. All right, here's another unreasonable request you might get in the financial world. How can I get out of paying my taxes on that money, all that money that I've been building up in my IRA and my 401k?
Well, quick and short answer here, Ben, is you can't. You can't, right? Any of that money in your IRAs, 401ks, it's all tax deferred. So while it felt great to get that tax deduction when you put the money in, you're going to have to pay taxes on it sometime. The IRS wants their cut. Now, here's the next step of this. Don't wait until age 72, right? That's the age where you're forced to take money out of those accounts to start thinking about it. Wherever you're at in life, now is the time to plan. Even if you're even if you're in your 70s, now is still the time to plan to help reduce the taxes in your IRAs and 401ks. And the trouble is I find that I'll call it our financial media, because we want people to continue to save for their retirement. That general statement is, hey, make sure you save into your 401k, save into your 401k. And that's what leads to this trouble, right, of having a lot of money in those 401ks, 403bs, 457s, money that hasn't been taxed yet. So one thing is to think in advance, right? Think in your 20s and 30s about maybe saving into your Roth instead of that 401k. But let's just say it's already happened, the money's already there. Well, the other thing then is that we got to start looking at your overall situation. How much do you have saved in your 401k? I've got, couples that come in that we're working with. They've saved up $1 million or more there. And after we do some projections, it appears that their future taxable income will be higher in the future than where they're actually at today. And so what we do is create a strategic approach of shifting some money prior to age 72 out of their 401ks, out of their IRAs, and putting it into the Roths. Now, big asterisk here, when you do that, right, you still don't avoid paying taxes. You're just paying taxes at today's rate. How much should you do? It all depends on your specific situation. We're trying to take strategic amounts that go up to certain tax brackets without going over. So you can't avoid it, but the one thing that you can do is potentially reduce it. And that's one thing that we're looking at for all of our clients when we go through our year-end tax planning and tax strategy meetings.
That's why you get ahead of it, right? So that this question doesn't come up. You don't want to be asking, hey, what can I do about my taxes now that I got to take my money out? You got to be planning on that way ahead, but always know that the government will find a way to get theirs, right? So there's no avoiding it, but there are ways to lessen that obligation down the road. So keep that in mind. A good advisor will help you with your tax planning as well. All right. Last one I have here out of our unreasonable requests, and this obviously does not capture all of the unreasonable requests that come into advisors, but the last one I do want to bring up on the show is, can you just do it for me? I know that some people think, hey, you're a financial advisor. This is what you do. I'll bring in my forms. I'll bring in whatever information you need, then hand it off to you, and then I'll be gone. You come up with a plan. But it's so important that someone has an investment in their own financial plan, correct?
Yeah, one of the key questions that I ask all of my clients, as we're going through the process, determining if we're going to work with them and if they're going to work with us is, when we get to that stage is, do you want my help and to partner together? And Ben, you bring up a great point. This is a long-term partnership. And just because a person's brought in their statements and brought in, their Social Security statements and told me what their future income from pensions that are other sources might be, it doesn't mean that we just put together a willy-nilly plan. And I'm going to go back to that example of building a house, right? And this process is so similar. When you build a house, you don't just go to an architect and say, hey, put together a house for me. I'm certain that you've got a vision, a dream of what that house is going to look like. How many stories is it going to be? What do you want the yard to look like? What do you want the kitchen to look like? How many bathrooms do you want in that house? How big do you want the laundry room, right? For me, I want to make sure I have at least a 3-car garage. That's important to me. And retirement planning's the same. What do you want your plan to look like? What's your vision? What do you want the future to look like? Is it you want to retire on a certain date? Is it that you just want to achieve financial independence, but you're still going to work and maybe work part-time? What is it that you want that future to look like? Then, yes, as an advisor, we go back, we start constructing that plan according to that blueprint, that vision. But just like a house where there's lots of times where we need to renovate or make updates, or because of the budget, we need to make changes, right? It is constant collaboration. And so, no, we can't just do it for you, because this is your money. This is your retirement savings. This is your vision, your dream. So for me, it's important that we're doing it with you and partnering with you to help make it all happen.
Yeah, it's all about that relationship and doing things together and making sure that you have input in your own plan. You want to have input in your future, and that's important for Scott and his team at Searon's Financial Group. So if you have questions, if you want to see if your request is unreasonable, or you just want to learn more about the financial planning process, you can find Scott online at lifemoneyshow.com. It's kind of the content hub for everything he produces. So not only the podcast, but also video content there as well. If you choose to watch some of that and learn more, a lot of different topics are covered there as well from a financial planning perspective. But you can also call Scott at 847-235-6989. We'd like to try to take questions as well on the show. So if you have them, you can send them in to us via that website. We got one this week from Mark, who says, I feel the need to reduce the risk in my portfolio, but I don't know where to turn. I've looked at bonds, I've looked at annuities, and I've looked at just moving to cash, but all those options have drawbacks that I don't like. So what am I supposed to do?
Boy, I think this question goes pretty well with today, Ben, and our first unreasonable request. I'm not saying that Mark's being unreasonable. He actually understands that there's drawbacks to all of these different items. And I guess that's where it comes to, unfortunately, there's just no perfect investment. So as Mark mentioned here, right, he looked at bonds. Now, what's some downsides? Bonds right now have a very low interest rate. Do they achieve, though, safety like he's trying to achieve? They do achieve safety, and they achieve liquidity. The next thing that he mentioned here was annuities. So let's talk about some of the downsides or drawbacks of annuities. Like, let's use, for example, a fixed indexed annuity. While still going to achieve safety, maybe same amount or potentially higher growth in a bond, you're now giving up liquidity. So if liquidity is something that you need, maybe that's a drawback there. I think, as Mark already mentioned, right, there's no perfect investment. So I think what really needs to do is go back to the blueprint. What's the income plan? What's the strategy? What is needed? And yes, while there's drawbacks, if safety is what is needed, then, hey, we have to go with what's available and get it as part of our plan. Because if we go, you know what, I just didn't really like any of I need safety, right? My income plan says I need safety, but I just didn't like any of the options, so I'm going to keep all the money at risk. Well, then if you go through a market correction, now more of your money's down, you've got to go and sell something that's down to get the income that you need. So sometimes, while it's just not perfect, we still have to pick one and move forward. Or the other thing is to kind of use a mix, right? Maybe you can do a little bit of cash, a little bit of bond funds, and then maybe a little bit in an annuity. So hopefully that's helpful there. Unfortunately, nothing perfect that's out there, and sometimes we just have to align with our plan and continue to move forward because it is what's in our best interest.
Yeah, great question. We appreciate you sending that into the show, Mark. We do always love to hear from you. Any feedback you have, we'd love to have you hit us up online, lifemoneyshow.com. Also, you can leave a review if you choose to do that. We'd appreciate that as well. And if you want to call Scott directly to set up a meeting, you can do so by calling 847-235-6989. All right, Scott, we will close it out on that note. I'll get outside, get a little fresh air. Hope you enjoy this beautiful weather until it turns a little bit warmer in the summer, but take advantage of these beautiful days.
Hey, sounds great. Think I might get outside myself. Thanks, Ben. Great conversation.
Yep, and thank you for listening to Your Life, Your Money. For Scott Stearns, I'm Ben George. We'll talk to you on the next episode.
Searns Financial Group is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Searns Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Searns Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Searns Financial Group, Inc.